While I'm definitely not pro-assassination, especially when it comes to the CIA interfering with other countries, governments, elected officials, I have to make an exception for Rafael Trujillo. If CIA had anything to do with his assassination, good on you, boys. This guy basically ordered the deaths of innocent men, women, and children, babies. Rafael Trujillo. Good riddance. Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Jason Freeman, and I'd like to welcome you all to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Parsley Massacre, which occurred in the Dominican Republic in 1937. I'm going to talk about what it is. I'm going to talk about why it happened. I'm also going to talk about its aftermath as well. Now, at any point, feel free to click the notification bell or subscribe to my channel to get more content. So, without further ado, let's begin. So this video is going up on either October 1st, 2022 or September 30th, 2022. Either way, on the 2nd of October, it'll be the 85th anniversary of the beginning of the Parsley Massacre, which occurred in the Dominican Republic in 1937. So just a little background. So Haiti and the Dominican Republic share the same island, Hispaniola. And there have always been these kind of historic tensions. In fact, from 1822 to 1844, Haiti actually occupied the nation of the Dominican Republic. They occupied the capital, Santo Domingo. And so the day when the Dominican Republic celebrates their Independence Day, they're not celebrating independence from Spain, they're celebrating independence from Haiti. And culturally, the Dominicans and the Haitians differ in many, many ways. The Dominicans are primarily Spanish-speaking. The Haitians speak French and Haitian Creole. Dominicans see themselves as mainly Spanish, from the nation of Spain, and really the Haitians really prize their kind of African roots. Within the Dominican Republic, Catholicism is a dominant religion, and while many Haitians are Catholic, there also is kind of the role of voodoo within Haitian culture. Now, over the years, there have been a lot of tensions. We're going to talk about the Parsley Massacre, but you see a lot of kind of fear and distrust by many Haitians. But on the flip side, among Dominicans, there's a significant amount of racism towards the Haitians, both in Haiti as well as in the Dominican Republic. And so one of the things that was caused by these kind of differences and also has kind of widened the gaps between Haitians and Dominicans is the Parsley Massacre. So what actually is this thing? What is the Parsley Massacre? Well, basically, the Parsley Massacre was a mass murder of Haitians who were along the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Now, this particular massacre took place in 1937 and was ordered by the dictator of the Dominican Republic, Rafael Trujillo. Trujillo ordered his military to kill all Haitians in the northwest frontier of the Dominican Republic, and there are estimates that they could have killed maybe less than 1,000 or up to 30,000 Haitians. We just don't know. But we do have survivors who've talked about what happened, and it's a pretty horrific situation. Now, it's called the Parsley Massacre really because of English-speaking outlets. So what happened was within the Dominican Republic, of course, they speak Spanish, and so the word for parsley is Perejil. Now, one of the kind of myths, and this is probably a myth, and I'll explain why that might be probably a myth in a minute, but basically, one of the kind of myths is that as the Afro-Dominican soldiers were kind of going through trying to find Haitians to kill, because, again, both have African ancestry, it wasn't always clear just by the phenotype who was Haitian, who was Afro-Dominican. And so what they would do, again, according to the myth, is they would ask the Haitians to pronounce the word Perejil, which is parsley. And if they pronounced it in a way that didn't necessarily sound Hispanophone enough, then essentially they would be killed. And so that's kind of one of the myths. Now, the reason it's probably a myth is because many Haitians who were living in that region likely spoke Spanish, especially because it was probably the language of business if you want to do business in the Dominican Republic at that time. So what caused the Parsley Massacre? Why would Afro Dominicans do these horrific things to people of African descent like themselves. It really comes down to, again, the years of hatred that existed between Dominicans and Haitians. And one of the kind of drivers of that was the leader of leader of the Dominican Republic at the time, Rafael Trujillo. He himself had these kind of views that saw Haitians as being racially inferior, even though he himself had Haitian ancestry. Trujillo, who ruled the Dominican Republic from 1930 to 1961, used his power, used his platform to really push these anti-Haitian, very racist views. And so when he ordered his troops to go ahead and murder the Haitians, he really kind of framed it as essentially trying to clean and kind of purify the country. And he used the guise of the idea of Haitians were stealing cattle as a means to kind of quote unquote justify this mass murder. But of course, it's unjustifiable. By the way, if people feel I'm being unfair to Trujillo or his regime, I'll say I have nothing against the Dominican Republic. I definitely want to travel there one day. But I've also been to Germany, and so no one says you're being unfair to Germany when we criticize the mass murder by that horrible regime from around the same time. So what is the legacy of the Parsley Massacre? Well, first of all, it leaves a really ugly stain on the history of the Dominican Republic. Now, thankfully, they do acknowledge that this thing did happen. It is in their history books, but there's never been a formal apology for this horrible massacre. And while reparations were paid by the Dominican Republic government to Haiti and the survivors of the massacre, a lot of that money actually didn't make it to the survivors, unfortunately. Now, there were colonies set up based, with the money, but a lot of the money actually was kind of absconded with or kind of stolen by some corrupt officials within Haiti. And so that didn't actually make it to many of the survivors, unfortunately. Now, as of 5 years ago, there were some survivors who did talk about the experiences of the Parsley Massacre when they were children. Some of those interviews were actually recorded by NPR, National Public Radio. You can actually find a link to those interviews or the overall story, which include those interviews, in the comment section below. But the major thing is that it left a lot of fear. It left a lot of trauma, a lot of anger towards the individuals who did this horrible, violent act. Now, one positive thing is that some younger generations within the Dominican Republic are now speaking out and acknowledging what happened and the horror of what happened. Hopefully in the future, there'll be more healing and more acknowledgement of what happened so that nothing like this ever happens again. Now, if you found any of this interesting or informative, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Also, feel free to share this video with anyone you just think needs to hear this. Also, if you have any questions about the Parsley Massacre or similar events in the history of the African diaspora, just leave those questions in the comment section below. Thank you all and have a wonderful rest of your day.